Sarah Thompson with the Rhinebeck School of Music. And in this lesson, I'm just going to give you more food for thought on, we're going to do these out of E minor pentatonic, but being able to play your pentatonic shapes at any place at any time, right? So most people start, and I did too, you find like if this is your E here on the 12th fret, you know that's your first position box shape, you know, and you kind of stick around there, and all this is a little mysterious. Maybe you know your first position here in the open position as well. Sometimes, you know, maybe you venture a little further into pattern 2 and maybe down into pattern 5, but all this is sort of a mysterious place, right? And you really want to be able to play these patterns anywhere at any time in this key, right? So I was just kind of playing all over the fretboard, just doing whatever. But so maybe if your go-to all the time is always to start on this this root and play pattern 1, maybe your new go-to should be start on this root and play the position before it, pattern 5. So, you know, because a lot of people, they get stuck in this one position that's very comfortable. So maybe now, if you start on this root, maybe think, I'm going to just go for this position before it instead and kind of play around there, right? So you have two patterns that go off of that top string root, right? And then your second pattern is on the D string here, right? So now this A string is sort of like the key, the key to the key of E, right? So like you have this E here on the 7th fret, right? So if I go this way to the left, I have my pattern 3, right? 5 7 5 7 5 7 4 7 5 8. All right, and if I go to the right this way, I have my pattern 4. All right, so it's sort of like a caged thought, right? Because when you play caged, you learn, okay, well, this is my A string root, and I know I have a major scale going this way, and I know I have a major scale going this way. And on the top string, I have a major scale going this way, one that stays in the middle, and then one goes right, and then you have all of your connections. Well, you could do the same thing with the pentatonic scale, right? So if you're stuck all the time, just always going back to pattern 1, maybe now try to start it on pattern 5 instead, right? And then try to find your A string root, and then do your pattern 3, and then your pattern 4. Right? And then you got your pattern 1 and 2. But kind of like taking it outside of the box, thinking where like, all right, I know my root, there's my box shape. And then, you know, you're always fumbling, trying to find, okay, what comes next? What comes before it? What happens over here? I have no idea, right? Like you get a little lost. So finding that A string root and knowing that your 3rd pattern and your 4th pattern are built off of that one root, right? It's just as like on your E string root, you have your comfortable pattern and then the one before it and the 5, right? And a lot of people know how to kind of get to pattern 2 from pattern 1 because there's all these like fun little connection patterns that people practice, right, that go between those. So you know that if you're here, you slide up, you're in pattern. so it's all right there. But anyway, so it's really just about trying to get out of these box shapes a little bit more, right? So you learn them as box shapes and they're comfortable, right? But at some point you kind of have to go beyond that, and you have to make the connections, and you have to be comfortable playing in one key and being able to maneuver around it at any point, and not really thinking about it so much. And I tend to think personally that if you learn all of your patterns in A, it's easy to play in G, and then it's easy to move it up to B and C, right? So it's kind of easy that way. And if you learn them in E, they're kind of easy to kind of C and D, or C sharp, or C, or F, right? If you know that A string root and all this in between. So I tend to think if you focus on the key of A and the key of E and the pentatonics, the other stuff starts to fall into place a little bit easier. And that's just the way that because of the way that the notes and the patterns line up on the fretboard, right? Because in E, you're all the way up here, or you're all the way here. So you're kind of forced to think about what's in the middle here. When you're in the key of A, it's very comfortable to just stay here and maybe go a little here, maybe go a little there. But, finding the third and the fourth pattern into the fifth is where people sort of start to lose it with the pentatonic shapes. So I would say, brush up on those a little bit and see if it helps. All right, if you haven't already, visit www.rhinebeckschoolofmusic.com. Become a patron, patreon.com/Rhinebeck School of Music. See you at the next one.